Welcome to the Hump Day Hangout podcast by Semantic Mastery, where we answer your local SEO questions every week at 4 p.m. Eastern. I'm Adam Moody, and my partner at Semantic Mastery, Bradley Benner, will be sharing his decades of expertise based on not only helping others, but running his own agencies and businesses in the space. If you'd like to join us live on YouTube each week, just go to www.semanticmastery.com/HDHO at 4 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. If you'd like to ask a question ahead of time, go to the same link, www.semanticmastery.com/HDHO at any time and submit it there. Don't forget you can get the Semantic Mastery Local SEO Toolkit for free at the same URL. Okay, let's get going with this episode. Welcome to Hump Day Hangouts, episode number 532. This is the episode where I finally realized I really got to get some anti-reflection coating on my glasses. That is crazy. Anyways, besides talking about my glasses, we're going to talk about local SEO, answer your questions, and we got a couple of good announcements. But first, wanted to touch base with the guys, say hi, give Bradley a second to do some technical stuff in the background, and then we'll get into it. So, Chris, how you doing today?
Muted.
There we go.
Well, yeah, doing good. Yeah, busy as usual. Lots of projects happening at the back and stuff. Super excited. Also working with two people, like big projects coming. So stay tuned.
Outstanding. And Bradley, how about you, man? Are you staying warm or is it warm, cold in between?
Yeah, it's been nuts, this stupid fucking weather. It was like 0 degrees last week for basically 5 days. It was between 0 and 20 degrees, and this week today it's only in the mid 40s, but yesterday or 2 days ago, it was 67 degrees. So it's what a crazy time. It's up and down, but I'll take the warmth for a little bit because it's definitely been more bearable in the RV for sure.
Fair enough. All right. Well, we were talking before we went live. We probably got a couple of other announcements, but the most important one we wanted to talk about. Bradley took some training that was originally in the mastermind, and we have it's up on YouTube. It's unlisted, so you have to get the URL. I am going to post that in a minute, but Bradley, if you can take a minute and let people know about this, I'm going to be sending out an email later today and probably tomorrow about kind of what it's about, what people should know, and kind of how it relates to the mastermind. So with that said, do you mind just kind of walking people through the video or what you shared and why?
Sure. So it was a part of the mastermind webinar from last Thursday. It was about a 45-minute section of the mastermind that I cut out and created a separate video for, where I was just walking through with the mastermind members, kind of with the phase one program of the DHA, like what it looks like when it's completed. Like, in other words, I wanted to make sure, because all mastermind members have access to the full DHA training, all the SOPs, everything. The only thing you don't get as part of as part of the mastermind is that is only part of the DHA coaching program is the additional coaching. Like, in other words, everybody that is in our mastermind currently has access to all of the SOPs, the standard operating procedures that I've developed over the last 4 years for this process. And they are incredibly thorough and detailed, because this is now the third group that will be going through the phase one program, which is where we build the prospecting machine, the directory, the cold email setup, all of that. And because this is the third group going through it, we've had two previous groups that have gone through the SOPs and identified things that weren't clear or that needed to be, add more detail to, etc. And so the SOPs are incredibly thorough, very, very detailed, and anybody can follow the SOPs and get through it and build the same damn system that I teach in the full DHA coaching program. The only difference is you don't have the one-on-one direct support access with me on a daily basis. And we don't have the group accountability meetings and the one-on-one accountability meetings and all the other stuff that comes with the coaching program. But the reason I bring that up is because I wanted to make sure that our mastermind members were aware of what the DHA prospecting machine looks like when it's built, and how it functions and what types of results they could expect. So all of that was for me to demonstrate to mastermind members what they have currently available to them right now. And if they haven't started, the whole point of me going through all of that was to tell them, if you haven't started on this yet, what the hell are you waiting for? You know what I mean? Like, if you don't have consistent leads coming into your agency, why are you waiting to build this? What is the holdup? So the whole point of me telling you guys this today is because after I recorded that webinar or did the webinar last week with our group, I realized that that could be something that, you know, other people could benefit. If DHA phase one coaching program was too rich for your blood, or you just didn't have the revenue for that right now, or whatever, that's fine. Here's your second opportunity, your second chance to get the same training just without the additional coaching. And let me be clear, guys, if anybody joins our mastermind program, you get access to all the SOPs and you can ask questions in the main group about the SOPs, about the DHA program, and I'm happy to answer them. The only thing you don't get is the additional 1 hour per day of office hours, the group accountability meetings. And some of the like things that we provide to the DHA program members, like high level accounts and everything else. You have to have your own high level account if you're going to do it this way. But I'm just pointing it out because it's a second chance opportunity for anybody that wanted or considered joining the DHA program for phase one and decided not to for whatever reason or couldn't for whatever reason. This is an opportunity for you to still get the training and everything that you need just via SOPs in the mastermind, and you still get support from me. It's just part of group chat support as opposed to individualized support. So that's what that's for. Go watch that if you were interested at all. It's about 45 minutes. Watch it on 1.5 speed. You'll get through it in about 30. And it'll show you exactly what it is and you know how everything kind of integrates and operates and what to be expected once it's turned on. Okay. Is that good enough?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Bradley. I was just typing into chat and getting that pasted in there. So yeah, definitely go check that out. And again, you got to have the link, and hopefully we can get that sent out later to everybody else. But all of that to say, I think that's it for now for announcements, guys. Anything else we need to cover?
Not that I'm aware of, and we got a lot of questions today. So,
All right, well then let's get rolling.
Sweet.
all right, let me grab the screen and we're going to get started with Fox, who's I see in the comments already. So that's great because I see the question was reposted from previous week. So I've actually got the previous week's question pulled up. We'll start with that, and we'll probably just skip over the second version of it. So this was the original question. I think it was posted last week, and I wasn't able to get to it. So we're going to start there. It says, Fox says, love the Hangouts and the insight on how you would go about optimizing a location-based business, not a service area business with multiple GBPs. Yeah, so that's a great question. So what I recommend is all you have to do is you can still treat a storefront business as a service area business in that you can, if desired, you can create location pages and supporting location pages to try to push maps coverage area, expand the maps coverage area a bit to as wide as possible. Also, because it can help to perform better in organic search. But when you're talking about a storefront business in a single city, then the only way that, and I'm getting to the point about the multiple GBPs in a minute. Okay. Well, let's just start with one storefront business. Okay. Because, people say, well, how can everything you teach is about service area businesses? How can I apply this to a storefront business that is a single location business? Well, you can do the same thing. You can still treat the site as if it were your service area business in that you can create location pages and you can target the adjacent cities or towns that are immediately adjacent to where the business is physically located, or you could target specific sections or districts or boroughs within the city, right? Or even neighborhoods. You can target specific neighborhoods within the city. So that's how you can treat a storefront business website like a service area business website, is by adding supporting location pages. Okay. So now how do you do that with a multi-location business with multiple GBPs in the same city? Well, most cities are going to have some sort of um, boundaries or, sections or whatever that are either sections, districts, boroughs, whatever they call them, because it's different, it can be different, and or neighborhoods. And so you can usually find some sort of identifier that you can use as a modifier to the location, so that you can, distinguish or distinguish the difference between the different locations when they're all in the same city. Because they might share the same city name, but most of the time, and sometimes they might even share the same zip code, but oftentimes they'll share the same city name but have a different zip code. And so, again, you can try to identify sections, boroughs, districts, or neighborhoods within the city that then you can add as a modifier. Okay, so I'm going to give you some examples of that. So, like, if we did a search, I'm just going to use a couple of bigger cities as examples. It is a little bit harder in smaller cities, but you can even use like a street name if it's a small city and it doesn't have specific sections, boroughs, districts, or a list of neighborhoods, then you may be able to just go in and add like a street name as a modifier to like the location landing page in the SEO title, right? Or in possibly the URL. So let's say it's, company.com/city, whatever that city is, hyphen street name or something. And that's just an example if it's a city that is a smaller city that has multiple GBPs where there's not official sections, districts, or boroughs, or you can't identify particular neighborhood or community names within the city that then you could use as a modifier, right? So here's an example of a larger city. I'll give you a couple of examples, guys, because it's different depending. Each area is going to be different and how their naming convention, etc. So Austin, Texas is just an example. Okay, but Austin, Texas has, if you look at the geography, right, you scroll down, you'll see like cityscape right underneath here. It says, sorry, let me go back. It says, see also list of Austin neighborhoods, right? So if you click on that, it opens up lists of Austin neighborhoods. And then now this shows you the neighborhoods within central Austin, right? Then North Central Austin. So these are the different sections of the city. North Central, Northeast, Northwest, Far North, East Austin, West Austin, South Austin. Within North Austin, there's 4 smaller subsets, smaller geographic areas that are still defined sections within North Austin. So you understand these are different sections of the city. This is a big, big city, of course. But then even in some of the sections of the city, there are subsections, as you can see here. So what you do is identify which, now remember, these are all different kind of boroughs or districts. And let me give you another example, and then I'll talk about how you can identify the best way you can just go ask ChatGPT, by the way. I'll give you an example of that in a minute. But like Las Vegas is another one, right? Las Vegas, you can go to geography, and then you can look at nearby communities, and this starts showing nearby cities and then neighborhoods. So nearby cities are going to be, communities. From what I understand, a nearby means it's not in the city, but it's adjacent to it. But neighborhoods are in the city. So again, these each have separate Wikipedia pages for different sections of Las Vegas. Downtown, the Lake, Summerlin, and West Las Vegas. Within each one of those, oops, I didn't mean to do that. But within each one of those sections, you may be able to find more specific modifiers that you can use. Does that make sense? So that's what I would do. The other thing that you could do, like I said, if it's a very small city that doesn't have a list of communities, neighborhoods, boroughs, districts, sections, whatever you want to call it, then some of the other things you can do is use things like Neighborhood Scout, scout.com, sorry. That's it. I got to spell it right. Yeah, so Neighborhood Scout is one that you could use to identify, put the city and state name in, and then you'll see, like, I'll just use an example, Culpeper, VA. And so here's like, and again, for small cities, you might need to use something like this, where you then extract neighborhood names and then try to identify where those neighborhoods are. And then you could add a neighborhood name as a modifier. Do you see what I'm saying? That there's also at the bottom of the page, you can sometimes find a different or some other neighborhoods in the list that's down here. So it's this one here and this one here on the right-hand side. Another one, again, for smaller cities, would be homes.com. There's another one here that you can use to identify neighborhoods. So if we just go grab that again and paste this in and look for geography, you can find neighborhoods in here too. In fact, you might have to use the search query. Let me just demonstrate this. Say neighborhoods in Culpeper, VA, homes.com. Right there, and then you could look right there, neighborhoods near Culpeper, VA, for example, and try to find neighborhoods that way. So this is just, I'm just giving you some examples. But lastly, you can always go to ChatGPT. Let me see if I can pause the screen for a minute and open up ChatGPT, and I'll show you an example of how I use this all the time. Because when I'm doing SEO audits for link building clients or anybody for that matter, when I get to the location entity section, I do go through the process of identifying the most relevant entities. And so I oftentimes have to do this. So let me see if I can, here we go, show this to you. Yeah, okay. Here we go. All right, so here's an example. I asked ChatGPT 4.40 or whatever, according to the Wikipedia page for Dallas, what section of Dallas is the following address located in? And I just put that the address of whoever's project I was optimizing or editing. I wasn't optimizing, I was auditing, excuse me, not editing or optimizing. I was auditing some location, some Google Business Profile or whatever for a client. And this was the business address. And so Dallas has sections and boroughs, etc. And so I asked them, I asked Google, according to the Wikipedia page, ask Google, ask ChatGPT, and give them the Wikipedia page or any one of the large language models, really, it doesn't matter. And then just ask them specifically where that is, where that particular address falls within the which official name or whatever of this section of the city, etc. It's going to tell you right here. It's located in the Asian Trade District, also known as Dallas's Koreatown, situated in Northwest Dallas. So an example of that is the broader section of the city is north. So we know it's that business was in Dallas, as it clearly states right there, right? But that zip code is in Northwest Dallas. And more specifically, more narrowly, Koreatown, excuse me, or the Asian Trade District. So again, if you just go look at even like the Asian trade, that's a very specific modifier, right? Asian Trade District, Wikipedia, right? Look at how it's titled, Asian Trade District, comma, Dallas. So that's how I would modify the SEO title for the specific Google Business Profile, the location page. Like, in other words, I would have, let's just say Bradley's Bagels, Asia, bagel store or whatever. I don't know what the Google Business category would be for that, but Asian Trade District, comma, Dallas. So that would be the actual location modifier right there. Do you understand? Now that's a very specific location entity within Northwest Dallas. You understand? So that's how I would do that. You could also, again, you could put something like that in the slug, right? So maybe you have bradleysbagels.com/Dallas hyphen Asian Trade District or ATD, right? Just a shorter URL. But again, now it's a specific identifier for a particular section or location within the city. So there's a number of ways that you can do it as I just described. Hopefully that was helpful. Let's see if I can. So hyperlocal SEO Fox. Yes, correct. Hyperlocal. That's exactly right. You need to, again, if you've got multiple locations that are all sharing the exact same city, might have different zip codes, but the same city, you could use a zip code too. I don't particularly like to do that, not like in an SEO title and stuff. I would prefer to have something like that in the SEO title, but the zip code in the URL could be done. Does that make sense? Like as the modifier. So Dallas-75220 in this case. In any case, the point that I'm trying to make is it's important to identify some sort of location modifier that you can add. And in most cases, you should be able to find one. All right, moving on. Close this down. Okay. Jim says, hey, Bradley, once you have a list of active emails from your directory, people who have responded, how do you typically nurture them? Do you have a specific follow-up strategy in place? I think I covered this last week, and I think the reason why I just left it open was because I was trying to get to Fox's question. We identified, just to kind of clarify that for those of you who didn't see last week's, when our virtual assistants or my assistants, my employees, whatever, when they are in the process of processing the lead, which is what I call lead processing, right? Pretty sophisticated name. That's when they identify the gaps that the company has in their digital marketing presence, and they make notes of that in the contact record in High Level, the CRM that we use. And then when I get on the listing delivery call with the prospect, then I address those. Well, first I deliver the listing, but then I transition the conversation into identifying the problem or showing them the problems that we identified, then agitating that problem, right? Problem agitate solution framework. We agitate it by, kind of describing to them what it's costing them. And then we present them with some low cost solutions. After that call, they're either going to close or they're going to need to be nurtured. And so once we've kind of identified and addressed it, brought it to their attention, essentially, what it was that we found, then that, we recommend that they get to improve their presence. Then we just plug them into nurture sequences. which again, is just a pipeline stage change in high level in the opportunity pipeline, right? All we do is just take the card and move it from one stage to the next, depending on which we have what they call FITD or foot in the door. So FITD websites, FITD GBP SEO, and FITD Google reviews. So that's foot in the door services, the three front end services that we pitch to our directory contacts, if that makes sense. So since we have three different pipeline stages in the opportunity pipeline, we have a trigger set up to where all we got to do is when we move the card, it automatically adds that into that. When we move the card into the pipeline stage, that's the trigger that then adds that contact to a nurture sequence, which can be done via, just an email sequence, email, SMS, however you want to build the sequence out. But we have two out of the three sequences built. The third one might even be built. I haven't looked into it. I haven't had a chance for about 4 or 5 days now to get back into figuring out what Harry did. Harry was a former partner of mine at Tree Care HQ for about a year and a half. We just recently kind of split. And so he had developed some of the nurture sequences for, I think websites and reviews. I don't think there's one for GB SEO, Google Business SEO, but there might be, and I just haven't found it yet. But that's what we do. Like, again, I try to do everything on the sales, the listing delivery call, which is the start of the sales conversation. But we have the nurture sequences available so that we can plug them into as a follow-up and also to kind of nudge them after the sales call or the listing delivery call to take us back up on our offer. Okay. And those are all three front end services. Now, again, it depends. If I'm on a call with somebody that the three front end services are pretty good, then I'm going to pitch them on higher level services, like maybe full on Google Business SEO instead of the starter or the basic plan, things like that. But that's all determined in that initial call. That's what I'm saying. So just so you guys know, like I used to do all different types of methods to deliver the listing to the prospect, the contact. But now we book, like the whole objective now is to book the call, like to get on a call with them when we deliver the listing. And that's like the listing delivery message or call, which is the actual start of the sales conversation. And so again, we've already had multiple contacts and communications back and forth with the contact by the time we get on that listing delivery call. Because of the automations and the way that we built this out, there's multiple points of contact. It's automated, but multiple points of contact with my agency and between the contact and my agency until the book sales call. So the first time that in case something happens where if something happens where the automations get tripped up because something occurred within the communication that the automation wasn't programmed for or didn't know how to handle or whatever, then obviously I have to jump into the conversation manually at that point. But so far for the last few weeks now, we've got the automations that are just booking the appointments, just booking appointments. And then I get on the call and and again, the video that we posted earlier in the chat box guide, the comments box for this Hump Day Hangout, I go through and show exactly the types of the messaging sequence and how it's handled, all of that. And it shows specifically that we have multiple points of contact with the prospect before the booked call. And then on the booked call is where I transition from delivering the listing, and again, in that video, I demonstrate specifically how I do this, but I'm 100% transparent with the contacts. When we get on the call, I don't see the point in trying to do a bait and switch with any of these contacts, right? When we get on the call, the first thing I say is, hey, thanks for scheduling this call. First thing we're going to do is cover the directory listing. I want to review it with you, make sure that you're happy with it. If there's anything that's inaccurate or needs change, just let me know. We'll do it for you for free. There's no cost for this. But then immediately following that, I'm going to address some issues that we identified when we were optimizing your listing that are some issues that we identified in your digital presence that is preventing you from getting jobs within the areas that you said you wanted to get work in. And present you with some low-cost solutions that will help you to start to resolve those problems. Does that sound like a good idea? Should we continue this conversation? And then I nod my head as I'm asking them that question. Should we continue this conversation? And I've not had one person yet say, no, we don't need that. Let's just get off the call. Every single one of them have been receptive to that. And so think about it, guys. I'm telling them right out of the gate. But I also preface it with, by the way, I'm not going to do any hard sales closing tactics or anything like that. I'm going to show you the problems and show you the types of low cost solutions that we have that will start to address those problems. And if it makes sense for us to work together, great. If not, hey, no harm, no foul. The door will be wide open for you if you decide you want to come back at a later time. And I tell them that right up front. And what does that do, guys? It alleviates the fear of being sold to, right? And I tell them exactly what my intention of the call is. I mean, right up front, I'm transparent and honest with them. And I tell them, I'm going to present some problems that we identified and present or address, introduce some problems that we identified and address some solutions with you. Low cost solutions, but you're not obligated to purchase anything. I just want to make sure you're aware of that. Does it make sense for us to continue this call? And then I nod my head. And they, yes, sure, let's go, of course. And that's what I've heard every time. Okay. So that's how I nurture them is by the nurturing is done in an automated fashion up until the first call. Then the call I get on, and that's when I present them what we discovered through the process of optimizing their listing, and then present them with some solutions. And I'm going to leave the door open. I'm not going to do a hard sales pitch. Why? Because if they don't close right there on the call, which most of them don't anyways, then we plug them into the nurture sequence. Whatever the most pressing issue was, we're going to move that opportunity card into that stage of that pipeline stage, which is specifically for FITD websites, so foot in the door websites, FITD GBSEO, or FITD reviews. One of those three things. And then, by the way, we can have an automation, or we can either automate this or we can just manually move the card. But when they complete one sequence, they can be added right to the next sequence, like, or whatever we identified is needed for them. Do you see what I'm saying? So again, it's an outstanding way, guys, because what we're doing with this process, with the directory outreach process and the way that I've got this set up now, is we were building rapport and goodwill with the contact before we ever bring any sort of pitch or presentation or ask into the conversation. So essentially, that's why they're so receptive to this, because guys, if any of you have ever tried to do cold email or cold calling, or it's, people ignore those. A lot of local businesses will ignore those. And even if you do happen to get a booked call from cold emails under the traditional kind of method of cold emailing that agencies do to try to land clients, those calls are always strained. How many of you have done that? How many of you have done cold emailing or some sort of outreach, some sort of outbound marketing to get booked appointments for your products or services, and then the conversation was entirely strained from the very start with your contact, with your prospect, right? Because they know a sale is coming, right? They know it's a pitch call. So they put their defenses up immediately, even those that are, look, the difference is if it's an inbound lead, if it's a business owner who has initiated the contact with you, that's because they have a desire for the products or services that you offer, and they just need confirmation, or they need to confirm or determine whether you're the best fit, the best provider of the product or service that they already know they need. But when you're doing outbound marketing, guys, it's completely different, right? Because if you interrupt them and get them to actually agree to a call, they already know they're going to be pitched to. And so they're going to put their defenses up, and it's very difficult to break through that. But when you do it the way that I'm talking about, which again, over 4 years of testing and refining this, we've got it to now, again, we do the cold outreach. They don't even catch a whiff, right? A scent of a smell, of a sale, a scent of a sale until we get on that call where I'm the listing delivery call, which is the start of the sales conversation. And then, like I said, right up front, at the very beginning of the call, I'm transparent about what the call is, what the objectives of the call are, and what I'm going to do. So I remember in video marketing, one of the programs I learned about creating videos for marketing videos is that you do three things. You tell them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. You see what I'm saying? And that's basically what I'm doing on these calls with the sales calls. I tell them what I'm going to tell them, then I tell them, and then we follow up and tell them what we told them, right? Through emails and nurture sequences. And that's precisely what we're doing, and it works incredibly well, okay? Because again, we're building goodwill with the contact before we ever transition to conversation. We've already built some rapport and some trust, right? We've shown them that we can deliver as promised. We can meet our commitments. We're providing them something of value. right? And then there's a number of things that we can do after that initial listing delivery call, besides the nurture sequences, that we can add more value to that directory listing and then use that as another excuse to contact them again. What do I mean? Well, for example, let me just give you a quick example. And I talk about this in that video that we just shared with you guys from the mastermind webinar last week. But let's just let's pick this one. Okay, you see this? This is a David Sprague rep video. You guys, every internet or SEO and internet marketer in the world should know what these are. These are David Sprague rep videos. I've got over 1,200 rep video credits in my rep video account. They're very inexpensive. So after a directory delivery call, a listing delivery call, if I don't close the prospect, I don't know why the logo's not there. Anyways, if I don't close the prospect on the call, which you usually don't, it's usually afterwards that they close, then now it gives me a reason in a directory listing. Let's see if I can give you guys a quick example of this. Give me 1 second. Let's check threads. Here we go. Okay, so this is one that was just published this morning. That needs corrected. We need to Trisha. Sorry guys, give me 1 second. Sorry guys, I don't mean to do this on the call, but needs reformatted for this listing. Anyways, so what I'm saying here, guys, is this is part of you'll see this image here. Again, in the video, I very clearly explain what we do. This is part of the process that we use to get that booked call, is having this image here. And then this is also part of the sales process. Part of the conversation that I have on the listing delivery call is, well, this is where you said you want to get jobs from. And then we show them exactly where they're actually getting jobs from, which, again, let me see if I can jump in there real quick and pull that up and give you guys an example of this while I'm waiting for that to load. All right, so here's an example. You see how there's no video here, right? So there's no video here because we were adding videos to all directory listings to contacts that replied, right? So we were just adding the videos because I had so many credits and I figured why not? But now we use that as another reason, another excuse to contact them if they don't close after that first listing delivery call, right? We're going to present an offer, and then we're going to put them into a nurture sequence. But then we can always reach back out to them 3 days later, 5 days later, whatever, and say, hey, reach out to this contact and let them know, hey, by the way, we also we added something else to your directory listing, and we'd like to share that with you. Here, go check it out. It's in the videos tab. It's what we call a review commercial. This is one way that we can help you to showcase your 5-star reputation, which, by the way, your reputation could use some improvement, right? Some more reviews, which will also influence how your Google Business Profile performs in local search, etc. Let's have a chat about how we can help you with reviews, right? So it's another excuse to reach out to the contact and try to book another call with them, right? To where we can still try to further move that sale forward, right? Any which way we can. So let me give you another example of this really quickly. Give me 1 second, guys. I just got to wait for high level to load, which sometimes takes forever. So it's clean cut tree service. I'm going to show you guys just a quick example of the kind of sales pitch. Let's see, clean cut tree services. That's this one here. There's multiple clean cut tree services. All right, so let me show you guys. So here's what I'm talking about, guys. This is the listing that, look, this was just published today. This listing right here was just published today by my team. You guys see? And here's the delivery message, right? Or it says right here, hi, Paul, as promised, the listing for Clean Cut Tree Service has been completed. We've also added a few things as a thank you, which is like, for example, the photos, this image here, which during the process of when they reply to the cold email, we first acknowledge their reply. Then we send out another message about 7 minutes later that says, hey, by the way, as we're optimizing your listing or preparing your listing, how far out do you go for work, or how far out do you go to get jobs? And they tell us, they reply back with a radius in miles. So that goes into the contact record. Then my VAs go out and create this image. They create 2 images. This image, and then a local search grid image that matches the same dimensions and the same size, et cetera, to show exactly how their GBP is performing within the area that they told us is their service area, right? And so that's precisely how we problem agitate solution is done with 2 photos, 2 images, guys, 2 images, right? That's why we ask them after we acknowledge the receipt of their inbound, their reply to our cold email. Then we send them another follow up. Hey, how far out do you go to get work? They tell us. Then we go create this. And then when we go deliver the listing, we tell them, by the way, we've added a few extra things to this. When do you have a few minutes to jump on a call? And they're going to do one of 2 things at that point. That's an if else statement or if else condition in the automation. They're either going to book the call or they're going to ask a question. Well, which problems why do I need to book a call? Why can't you just send me the listing for delivery? And that's when the automation says, okay, well, because we identified an issue that is preventing you from getting, while we were optimizing your listing, we identified an issue that is preventing you from getting work in the areas that you claimed are your service areas. We would like to address this with you on the call. When is a good time for us to chat or to meet or whatever? And then booking link, right? And so there's another if else condition there. They're either going to book the call or they're going to follow up with a question, which is, what is the problem? What problems did you identify, or some variation of that question? And then that's where the automation picks back up and says, well, during the process of optimizing your listing, we identified some problems that are preventing you from getting jobs within the areas that you claimed. Then a text goes out and it says, this is the area that you said you wanted to get work from. Let me just go into the contact record and I'll show you what I mean. Right here. This is the first image, right? We send this via text. Notice that was a short link, guys. That is a TCHQ link. So I've got a Pretty Links Pro WordPress plugin on the tchq.link domain. I got a WordPress installation on that so that I could use treecarehq.link, right? tchq.link is a link shortener so that when we send text with links, they're short links, right? They don't take up a ton of space. So here's what I'm talking about. These are the 2 images that we send, and it's done again. Ah, shit. She must have missed that one. Give me 1 second. Yeah, it was in the comment record from earlier. So let me stand by. She just must have grabbed the wrong short link. Give me 1 second and I'll find it. God damn it. I'm trying to find it, guys. I'm sorry, but I'm missing that proper link for this one. Anyways, let me just go into a different contact record and I'll show you one that I have available. So give me 1 second, guys. I don't know why that short link's wrong. I'll have to get that one updated because that'll screw up the automation part of it too if we don't have the correct link. So we'll go into this one and I'll just show you this one. All right, here we go. So the 2 text messages, and by the way, this is what I do on the call. But if they ask the questions prior to the call, then the automation handles this part. And it says, well, this is where you said that you want to get work from, but this is where you're actually getting work from, at least as far as Google search goes. So it's back to back. They get 2 texts just like this, right? And by the way, that's what I talked to them on the call about, right? So they're either going to book the call before they get to this, or they're going to get to this and then they're going to book the call, or they're going to ignore it entirely. And if that's so, then if they don't end up booking the call, then that's fine. They're still going to go into a nurture sequence. You see what I'm saying? But it works incredibly well, guys, because it went from it's been over 4 years that this has been in development, right? And originally when I started doing this, I was doing full-on custom video emails for every single contact. And it worked, but it was incredibly time consuming. So then it became a little bit better because I did what I called a custom intro and common outro so that I could significantly reduce the time that it took to record videos for each new contact. But even then, it was still cumbersome. So then I got a little bit more efficient and we ended up doing one universal welcome video. And then we would have a custom GIF made, which my VAs did. So I didn't have to do that. I recorded one custom universal welcome video, that we would send to every prospect. But we would have a custom GIF image that looked like an embedded video in the email. So when they would click it, it would take them to the one video that I recorded that was universal to all of them. And that was better because we were able to scale our outreach because I didn't have to do so many videos, recording custom videos. So I was able to increase my prospecting volume, if that makes sense. But now we do it this way, the way that I just described, and which, again, took about a year and a half of testing different methods to get from the listing delivery to a booked call. And we finally settled after the last few weeks, actually, we really kind of settled on this process, which is now in order to receive the listing, we have to book a call. And that's where we transition from listing delivery to the start of the sales conversation. And as I just described, guys, I'm 100% transparent with the contact right up at the beginning and tell them, I say, well, look, this is where you said you want to get work. You're only getting work from the areas in green. We have a number of ways that we can help you to increase this or improve this to where you start to get more work from a larger, broader area. And then we go into the conversation based upon what we actually identified through the process of optimizing their listing. Is it that their website sucks? Is it that their Google business profile needs improvement, needs optimized better? Is it that they don't have any reviews or a low number of reviews? Is it all three? Oftentimes it's more than one. And then I can address that with them. And I tell them right up front, look, they're low cost offers that we have that can help to start to address this. We also have performance based plans or, pay for performance or whatever type of plans where we results based services. But we have some front end services that you obviously need that we can present to you right now that are low cost to start to help improve in this process, um, improving, resolving this issue. Excuse me. Does that make sense? Anyway. I know I spent a lot of time on that, guys, but I think it's important for you guys to understand the concept behind this and why it's so effective. Because there's no sales pitch or anything until we've developed goodwill, good rapport with the contact. We've delivered something of value, and we can continue to add something of value and reach back out to them again and again and again. Okay. All right, moving on. O'Meal, I think. What other information can you use in Google Trends towards your website, like top and rising, and how do you feel about when you see something, a 1,600 monthly search, but it shows zero in another software? How would you approach that? I don't care. None of the rank or the search volume metrics, guys, are ever accurate. They're just indicators. That's it. They're not accurate. Okay. Not only that, but guys, you understand because of CTR manipulation, a lot of those search query data, especially for local search queries, it's manipulated data. Like you get it? The search volume isn't that high. Sometimes you can clearly tell when CTR is being done, but other times it's a little bit harder to discern. But because so many SEOs are using CTR manipulation now, you can't count on search volume metrics from these tools, guys. You can use them as an indication of search volume. That's it. Google Trends is not a search volume tool. Google Trends is a search interest tool. There's a difference. So Google Trends shows search interest. Most of the keyword tools are going to show search volume, average monthly search volume data. And it's two different metrics. But like I said, the search volume metrics from any keyword tool are not accurate, guys. They're just an indicator. Okay, that's it. That's all I've ever looked at them as an indicator. Okay. So what other information can you use in Google Trends towards your website? Well, I mean, like for me, I like to look for competitors. Competitor names that then I can go optimize for their brand names and start poaching some traffic away from them. No kidding. And that's why I preach to everybody on Hump Day Hangouts and in our mastermind all the time. You guys that are out there with local business clients and you guys are optimizing their homepage for keywords and not the brand, you're sitting ducks. Somebody like me is going to come by and optimize for their brand and outrank the site that you're optimizing for them for their own brand search. It can demonstrate this right now, actually. Let me give you a quick example. Patriot Tree Service, Winchester, VA. This is an example of a test that I was doing, and I was sharing this in the mastermind. This is a company who is one of the competitors, one of my main competitors in two areas that I have lead gen assets in, Winchester, Virginia, and Martinsburg, West Virginia, because those are two cities that are close to each other. Different states, but they're just on, very close to each other. So this one company has services both Martinsburg, West Virginia, and Winchester, Virginia. And I've got lead gen assets in both of those locations. And so this is a competitor. Well, as I was doing some competition research, I noticed that if we go take a look at their website, let me go ahead and grab this and put this into Chrome where I have a SEO Pro extension. I want to show you something to you. Right here, guys. Look at the SEO title of their homepage. Does it mention their brand name? Okay. Look at the headings on their page. Does it mention their brand name? No. Down here, way down here in an H2, way down on the page is where they have their brand name for the first time. Then another H2. But none of the main optimization elements have their brand name in them, right? Which are the primary optimization elements, which is the most important. This is the home page of the company website. And the SEO that's working on this doesn't think it's important to optimize for the brand. Okay, that's great. I love SEOs like that, right? Because I can come in with a site with no backlinks, and I used an AI site builder to build this site where all I did was buy a domain, and then I built the site with an AI site builder. So literally about a handful of clicks, 8 to 10 clicks, and this site was built. And then once it was built, I went in and just did about 15 minutes of optimization on it. And look where I'm at. I'm right below them. Guys, I haven't built any links to this or anything. If I wanted to then go build some links to this, I could, with brand anchors for their brand name, I could likely outrank them. I don't know for sure, but I likely could because I've done it in some other cases. You see what I'm saying? So that's incredibly important, guys, to optimize for the brand and a lot of SEOs don't do that. And so again, it's really important to look for um, brand searches that you can target for those that aren't optimized for the brand. Then you can sometimes outrank them and poach traffic from them. And so I know somebody's going to ask, well, what are you going to do with that? Like, how would you siphon traffic from them? Well, there's a number of ways. You do sneaky redirects or iframe overlay to where you have literally another page laid on top of this to where the public sees one page, but Google sees another page. That's called cloaking. We're not supposed to do that. I understand that. I get it. But we're not supposed to do a lot of things that we do in SEO. I'm just pointing out there are a number of things that we can set up a meta refresh to where this meta refreshes to a page URL that we want, like a landing page, a lead capture page that we could use for another company. There's a number of things that you can do with this. There in the CTRFI, which is the site builder I used for this, there is a sneaky redirects option that will do a meta refresh for a human visitor for the first time they land on the site. They'll land on the site and then it will redirect them immediately to whatever page URL, but it will only occur once. Then the next time they come back to the site, they're going to see the underlying site, if that makes sense. So there's a number of things that you can do, but Google Trends is good for that, good for identifying brands, because again, let me just, I guess, demonstrate this. I always have to demonstrate this. In the tree service industry, especially, guys, there is, and many other industries like this, plumbers, etc., HVAC, you can often just search for the primary Google business category or service category and identify from that alone in Google Trends the top advertisers in local market, the companies that are spending the most on local marketing and advertising. You can identify that through trends, and then you can piggyback off their budget because in many cases they might be optimizing or spending a lot of money on local marketing and advertising, like radio ads, newspaper ads and flyer inserts, and canvassing neighborhoods, hanging door knockers, yard signs, right? They call them bandit signs. The sign says like, this tree was taken down by Joe's Tree Service or something like that, right? Those are all brand mentions or branding, advertising and marketing that's based around the brand within their local market. So people go to Google and then search for the brand and click through. And so Google Trends will show that. And that's what then we can go look at those competitors that are showing up in trends and look and see, is their homepage optimized for their brand? And if it's not, that's a target that we could use to potentially poach traffic from them. So let me just give you a quick example. We're going to go to the last 12 months and we're just going to, let's just go into, I don't know, we'll go back to Kentucky because I've got one in Louisville there. I use this as an example often. So we're going to go look at Kentucky at a state level for the last 12 months with just the keyword tree service, because most tree service contractors have tree service or tree care in their name. Okay. So by the way, I could do that here too. Just add another term here. If I can spell. Okay. And we can see tree service has a lot more search interest in Kentucky than tree care does. But if we scroll down here, here's an example. Right here, Dave Leonard Tree Service, Davy Tree Service, New Leaf, Smith, a professional tree service, Limwalker Tree Service, right? These are all rising, which means they've had a significant increase in search interest over the time frame that was specified up here. So as you can see, like Limwalker Tree Service had a 50% increase in search interest over the last 12 months. That's what that's stating. Here you can see breakout. I believe it's 25, anything above 2,500% it says breakout. So 25% increase in search interest in whatever time frame was specified. If I change this down to 90 days, it's going to change the data, right? Because this is time over just the last 90 days. So again, we can see in here, if we go through here, these are the companies over the last 90 days that have had a significant increase in search interest and by how much it tells us, right? Then we can look at the historical, right? And under the historical, which is the top terms, that is over time, these are the most related, the search queries that come up the most often that are related to the seed query, right? And so you can sometimes find, again, look at this top, right? Tree Service, Asplund. Asplund's a big national company that does like government contracts and stuff, so I wouldn't target them. But Nelson Tree Service, Town Tree Service, Lopez, Limwalker, Dave Leonard, or Davy Tree Service, right? You guys can see this is a great way to identify additional stuff that can be done with Google Trends. Looking for search queries, specific search queries that then you can then publish Google Business posts on in a particular geographic location, right? Something, again, Google Trends is a wealth of data, guys, if you know how to use it. And I've been using Google Trends as always the starting point for all campaigns for 10 years at least. No kidding. All right. Moving on. We've only got 10 minutes. Why do you host site images on S3? And is that important? It's well, just because I host them externally because it's easier to build the sites at scale. Like I've got SOPs and we do all the image optimization, all the data collection for geo-relevance, all of that. Everything is done externally. And I teach this in the mastermind. You ask all kinds of questions all the time about stuff that is 100% covered in the mastermind. I wish you'd just join already. No kidding. But anyways, we do everything externally. The way that we build our local lead generation sites is basically through CSV input. No kidding. We build the whole site in sheets, right? And I do Excel sheets, but that's how we do it. Is Excel sheets. Everything is done there, and then we use high-level forms to input the data that then builds the site. And so that's why we do it that way with external hosted images, because we can optimize the images and everything to the appropriate dimensions, everything that we need, and then upload them to Amazon S3. And we do them in batches. We do batch editing, etc. And it just makes everything easier to manage at scale when you're duplicating sites. If we can do everything externally, and then all we got to do is go into high level, open up the sub account, and we got 9 forms, I believe. It's 1 form for each sheet. And then there's actually a script that our support manager, Chris G, he actually created that's really, really cool because all you do is take the high level form and then you copy this script that is added at the top of each of the CSV sheets or the sheets in the Excel file. And then all you do is append that script code, which starts with a question mark or whatever, to the end of the URL of the high level form. And it automatically takes all of the data from the CSV sheet and populates the form, the high level form with all those data fields. So you don't have to copy and paste. It's amazing. I'm not even sure how I'm not a nerd that knows how to do all that kind of fancy shit with sheets and everything, but Chris is, and he did that. And it was awesome because we were doing copy and paste for all those data points. And it was a very manual and tedious process. And then he developed that script, and it's great. All you do is open up the high level form, open up the Excel file, copy the script code, and append it to the end of the URL and hit enter. It automatically transfers all the data from the CSV sheet into the high level form into the appropriate fields. You click submit, boom, you're done. Then the site builds about 80% complete after submitting those forms. So it's a great way to do it, and that's why we host the site images there. So we can get them down to the right size. I do recommend also the appropriate file format, like WebP is a good format for helping images to load faster, etc. Greg says, hi, if you want to set up a local niche authority site as well as a local geo-targeted authority site, a local niche site, as well as a local geo-targeted authority site to link back to the local money site for ranking juice, can you use the same hosting provider for both? No. If you're going to be using multiple sites that you're going to interlink to try to boost SEO, then you need to have either separate hosts, or you can use the same host if you are using like reverse proxies, like Cloudflare for example. But it would be better if you could actually just host them on different hosting accounts. Um, because again, you don't want to have the same IPs is the whole point. That creates a footprint. If you're doing it once or twice, it's fine. It's not going to help much with SEO anyway. If you were doing that at scale, though, where you're going to build a bunch of your own assets and then interlink them, you have to manage where you're hosting them. If you're just talking about, a couple of sites linking to each other, that's not going to cause a problem. Okay. Seriously. It'd be all right if you're just going to do it there. But if you were going to try to build multiple sites and then interlink all those sites, that can create a hell of a footprint. So don't do that. You want to have separate hosts, or use different kind of reverse DNS or reverse proxy providers like Cloudflare. Akamai is another one. I'm not sure if I'm saying that properly. This is another one right here that has something similar to kind of what Cloudflare does that you can use. So there's a number of things that you could do to kind of, if you only have one host, you can do things to kind of separate the IPs or use different to simulate different IPs, etc. Okay, you can use Amazon CloudFront. There's a number of things you can do. Amazon CloudFront is their CDN. It's geeky to configure that though. I'd rather use something like Cloudflare, which is a lot easier. If not, can you use Google Sites for each of those types of authority sites without Google being able to recognize that they are created by the same entity? Yeah, you just use different Google accounts for that. Yes, you would just use separate Google accounts. And that's can also work. I would still recommend self-hosted sites and G sites is what I would do both, actually. Okay, moving on. Alex says, hey, Bradley, can you speak into the reasons for creating the DBA for the DHA brand? Any tips? Yeah, because if you are you're doing marketing under a different brand name, you should have that as a DBA, a registered fictitious name against your primary corporation. Because otherwise, in certain jurisdictions, you can get in trouble for operating a business without it being tied to any corporate entity. Operating a business without a license, let's put it that way. So I always get DBAs, doing business as, which is just a fictitious name. It used to be years ago, guys, I would create a company for everything, right? And then when I hired a CPA and I got my first year's tax bill for tax preparation services, when I had like 12 LLCs, I said, holy shit, because I got $500 tax preparation fee for each entity. And I got hit with like this $6,000 tax prep bill plus my own personal return fee, like the cost for preparing that. And that was like, I don't know if it was 10, it might have been 10 years ago, 8 to 10 years ago. And I was like, holy shit. And so I talked to my CPA, my accountant. I asked her, I said, well, she said, well, why did you create they're all marketing related businesses. Just create DBAs, have everything under one parent account, which is Big Bamboo Marketing LLC. And I said, well, that makes sense. I wish I would have known that sooner. So I ended up closing all those other LLCs, and now all of my other businesses, well, I mean, Semantic Mastery has its own corporation, but Big Bamboo Marketing is my own sole. I own that LLC entirely by myself. And I've got a number of other businesses that operate under that corporate umbrella of that LLC, but they're all as DBAs doing business as. Even my real estate business, when I was flipping land, was a DBA of Big Bamboo Marketing because my land flipping business, people say Quick Turn Real Estate is a real estate investor business. No, it's not. It's a marketing business. It's not an investor business unless you're buying and holding properties. It's a marketing business. It's a real estate marketing business. That's what Quick Turn Real Estate is. Unless you're buying and holding for rentals and things like that, it's not an investment business or an investment. Yeah, it's not a real estate investment business. It is a real estate marketing business. And so I had my Alpha Land Realty was a DBA under my marketing LLC. Okay. In the state of Virginia, I can register DBAs online for $10. That's it. Before COVID, I used to have to go down to the courthouse and you actually had to have a DBA registration form notarized and then recorded at the courthouse. You can send that via mail, by the way, but I would just go to my local courthouse and have it recorded. But after COVID or during COVID, they switched it in the state of Virginia to where now you can do it online. It's $10. That's it. So it's super easy to do. Fox already answered that. His life is up again. You did a video on finding low comp areas. What should we do if there are multiple counties coming up? An easy local map radius tool to get 5 unique locations. Then just move your or you can either just pick the adjacent areas, like the immediately adjacent areas, or pick areas that all fall within the same county so that you can still build the site out that way. Or you can test with different structures. I've told you guys you can test with different structures, right? I've got some that are, the homepage is optimized for a region, and then each location page is optimized for a separate city within the region. I've got one that I still haven't finished yet, god damn it, but it's supposed to be targeting one city that then has sections, districts, boroughs, or neighborhoods as supporting location pages, like what we talked about at the top of today's call. Okay. Just modify it to make it fit. How do you get different phone numbers for each LOG mini site? We don't. We use the same 800 number. Again, all this is covered. Here's IFA and all the training and the SOPs and the mastermind, 100% covered. We use the same phone number for all LOG assets until you get a paying client. And then you swap out the phone number with a new phone number that's dedicated to that specific sub account in high level, right? It's still your number. You don't put your client's number on your site. You put your number on the site, a different number that you buy specifically for that location that then forwards to the client. But it's your number on the site. That way, if you build any supporting assets, it's going to have your number on it. You don't have to change it when the client decides to cancel at some point. So what we talked about last week, remember? I think you were asking about branded assets for LOG stuff. And I said, don't build branded assets for LOG stuff. Not for your client, not using your client's information. You build branded assets with your information for your assets, which means your phone number. So you use one number, 1-800 number or toll-free number across all sites. Then when you monetize one of the sites, that's when you get a dedicated local number for that specific location, which will then redirect or forward to your client's phone number. Okay. Again, all this is taught. What are your thoughts on using a subdomain of the LOG domain for the directory? No, don't do that. Don't do that. I did that with TreeCareHQ. It was local.TreeCareHQ, and it screwed up what Google understood about TreeCareHQ. I messed up. I polluted the entity for TreeCareHQ because of that. And it was a mistake. And I'm glad I learned it so that I could prevent you guys, my members, students, whatever you guys want to, whatever we call you guys. I would have taught to do that until I saw what it did to what Google understood about TreeCareHQ. And it polluted the entity because I had local lead generation assets built as TreeCareHQ local, which were tree service assets. And then I had tree service or TreeCareHQ, which is a directory and a marketing agency. And because of the locations that I added later after so on the subdomain local.treecarehq.com, that site's still live, by the way, because I still have some GBPs that have not been converted to Felling Pro yet. This site right here, and it ambiguated or polluted the entity. And I'm still suffering. TreeCareHQ.com, the directory is still suffering from the damage that I caused by building local lead gen assets as part of the directory. I shouldn't have done that. But I'm glad I did it, and it happened to me and me only, because that way I'm preventing you guys from experiencing the same problem. That is precisely why I created Felling Pro, okay? Because this is a different brand. It's still under the same corporate entity. This is another DBA. TreeCareHQ is a DBA of my Big Bamboo Marketing LLC. Felling Pro is a DBA of my Big Bamboo Marketing LLC. You understand? But now there's two separate entities. And so, and I'm trying to resolve a lot of these location ambiguation that I caused, or excuse me, brand ambiguation or brand pollution that I caused by converting a lot of those TreeCareHQ local locations into Felling Pro branded locations. You can see a number of those here. Kentucky was one of them. Louisville was TreeCareHQ Louisville. And then I converted it to Louisville Felling Pro, right? Oklahoma Bethany. Bethany is now Oklahoma Felling Pro. It was TreeCareHQ Bethany. You see what I'm saying? So I am trying to get some of those, I'm trying to work my way through getting every one of them converted and changed to the Felling Pro brand, but I'm just doing it slow because I do these personally. I don't have a team that does that for me. I do that. And I'm just doing it slow. So anyway, all right, guys, I have to wrap it up because it is after 5 o'clock and we've answered a lot of questions. We still got a few that we did not get to. I apologize for that. I'll keep them in queue for next week and we'll try to get to those next week. I'm going to check on questions real quick, guys, and then we're going to wrap up for the day. No comments today, no questions. Okay. Right on. Well, appreciate everybody that was here. We'll see you guys next week. There is a Build with Bradley meeting